Aloha, and welcome to the House of Unconditional Love. I am Kiyosei Daiji, and this is Simran Ishnan Kaur, and we are your ministers of unconditional love. Woo! Happy Valentine's Day weekend! Ta-da!
We love you. We love you.
Whether you're with somebody or not, you are loved. And so we're going to start today with the gong. And just to remember to follow the sound down into the silence and find that peaceful place of the silence inside of you that is our unconditional nature.
Isn't that nice? Swimming in the ocean of eternity. So we're going to light the candle. We're going to do it a little bit different today. Every week we may shift the devotion, but knowing that it is all in devotional, unconditional presence, and that's what heals. That's what heals us. That's what heals each other, and that's what assists the world. So, as we light the candle, in fact, if you look at the flame, you can see that the flame carries different colors. We could look at the flame of your own candle, and it's a beautiful reflection of soul to spirit, actually physical soul to spirit. So by viewing the flame, we're reminded, we're remembering the love, the fear, and unconditional love as we're moving from the material of the wax, and the wick is feeding for the flame to be. So it's like the water moving to the fire, becoming the essence of steam rising. We have the colours in there, the deep blue, the black, the orange, the white. And as we remember all the aspects of ourselves through the flame, we can see that without the material, without the world, the solidity of this place, we cannot fuel the higher aspects of self. So there's many deep teachings on this, but for today we're just bringing it in as a remembrance, looking at the flame. So can we do an om or a hum or
We'll try one more.
Okay, we'll do one om just to center, and we'll get on with today's teaching. So take a breath in. And just feel the sensation in your body. Feel the existence of your physical as matter, like the wick, like the fuel that's needed to burn for the higher levels of, I was going to say, understanding consciousness, because what are we talking today about,
That's right.
Mr.
Exactly.
Minister of Unconditional Love?
We're talking about consciousness and the expansion of the nervous system.
Whoa!
Because there's-
Expansion!
Yeah.
I'm expanding, just thinking about it.
Exactly. Yeah, because they are kind of one and the same, consciousness and expanding the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are in a process of expanding our consciousness, and as well as with that comes the expansion of our nervous system to be able to accept and understand and realize more and more as a part of unconditional love. Consciousness, we can start with that, and the wick and the wax is a
Wax
beautiful
on, wax off.
metaphor of that, because we do need something to love. We need something to love and something to have the opportunity to understand and get to know, to ignite the love of life. The love of life is actually seeing something that we haven't experienced yet and accepting it as a part of life. And this fuels, this love, this fire, this fuel, this love, it fuels our life to move forward into these areas that need love, need understanding, need compassion. And through that understanding, love, and compassion of something, we can decide if it needs to be shifted or changed. This is because we have an understanding of it. And when we have an understanding of something, because we accept it as a part of life, we can actually see if it's benefiting life and how it works in life, so that we can make those decisions to either keep it as part of our expression as we move forward in our consciousness, or as we maybe it's something that we leave there in that time of our life. And there's lots of things as we grow older we have to do this with. There are some things that are hidden inside of us that are not as conscious because we don't accept those experiences. There's still fear about those experiences in our lives, so we're not conscious of those. And so as we start to accept any fear, let's just start with accepting a fear of doing any kind of activity. We use driving a car because most of us have experienced something like that. And there is a level of consciousness that is created around driving a car when we accept the fear of driving the car. And all of the fears around driving the car are, what does the right pedal do? What does the left pedal do? And we have to accept these experiences, these things in our nervous system, to allow us to become conscious of those as what they do, right? So we accept the fear that the right side is the gas, the left side is the brake. And eventually we don't necessarily have to think about it anymore. We accept it so well that it just becomes a part of our nature, part of who we are. That's called consciousness. The thing about that is it's easy to then go to the next thing because we're evolving into understanding ourselves as unconditional love. That's an infinite process. Unconditional love and the way we're expressing it is constantly changing. So there's always something to accept. And so basically it's consciousness happening at understanding unconditional love in this conditional reality. And so when we accept something and we become conscious of that something, we become conscious of it from a place of unconditional love because we accept it as a part of life. Those things that we don't accept, those things that we still fear as a part of life, those are the things that condition us because we are not conscious of all of those experiences if we do not accept fear as a part of life. Now, as we start to accept fear as a part of life, we actually become conscious of all the little subtle fears in our experience, all the past ones. When they come up, we're not afraid of those experiences. When we get the trigger, the little feeling in our body, we know it's our fear. We don't blame or judge someone else for it. This is consciousness. This is taking ownership of our own fear. That's consciousness.
Well, we might in our mind, in our little mind, and then before we project it too much, we may pull it back. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you've just said there.
Yeah.
And we had something to eat before we came on, and we shouldn't have, but I just felt it. So there's the states of consciousness. There's many states of consciousness. When we say that is consciousness, I mean, it's still debated by science and the research, different research will say different things. We could say the steps to awareness or awakening or full consciousness, whatever that means. So, we throw the word consciousness around a little, and it's really interesting when we're talking about what connecting as a mystic. What are we connecting to at what level or state of consciousness is the mystic in, and or is the spirit or being or energy they are connecting to? There's many. So in a nutshell, can I just give a really simple, I mean, it's a whole teaching, but I think if we pull it down to just a very simple, to navigate where you are. And so many of you know that I was in a coma once upon a time when I was a kid. That is a state of consciousness. Right? Coma. Coma consciousness. Coma, like unconscious, but that's the base level, like I guess, where you're not aware. See, everything I say has another thing, because when I was in a coma, I was still aware.
She was aware.
And this is where
there was consciousness there.
Where I understood that I was more than my body, and maybe why I went the mystic path and whatnot. But let's put that aside because I just want to do a simple little. Because even every time we say something, it like pulls it and takes it down these rabbit holes. So let's try and stay focused to these, layers or levels of awareness, right? So you're unconscious, and then maybe, or in bed. So there's unconscious, coma, and then there's you're asleep. So you're not in a coma, you're asleep. And then when you're laying in bed and you wake up, but you're not moving, you just got your eyes open. So coma, laying in bed with eyes open, sitting in bed, eyes open, but still in bed, moving around to the side of the bed, feet on the floor, eyes open, looking around, yeah?
Conscious, this is being conscious.
Standing up, not moving forward, standing up, looking around, eyes open, aware, and then taking the step forward. Oh, let's add another one. I think I added another one in here somewhere because there's generally 7 states, right, of, when you're running, that would be where let's use this as an analogy. So we need the matter, the flesh, the wood, or anything from the earth, so something with polarity, to burn the fuel, yes. Right? So we've got the fuel, it's burning, and that's a beautiful process because the burning is the process of taking us closer to the beloved or to God or to the supreme source, to unconditional love. Yeah? It's taking us closer, and this is how it works. It burns the fuel, and there's layers in there because there's layers of consciousness. But as it rises to the height, there's a higher light that we can see. But generally, people can't see. There's a higher primordial light is what I call it. And we aren't unable to see it with our physical eyes in this world. It brings itself down like energy does. It brings itself down into, so from primordial light, which you call something different, but this is what I call it, primordial light. Into the sun, and then the sun is sending out a certain type of light, but then the moon is reflecting the light and showing the inner essence of the sun's light, which is streaming the primordial light, and so on and so forth, until it's something that we can see and experience here in this reality. So back to my candle analogy. So it's raising. Then it comes back down. It's this cycle. So think about the person who was in a coma. Well, that's me, really. I'm in a coma, 10 years old, and then, I wake up. I couldn't move. I had all the mechanisms on me. I was tube fed, all the rest of it. Right, there was a process of even learning to move again because I hadn't moved for so long. So my muscles had deteriorated to some degree. Not a lot, but, learning to sort of stand and build the muscles up again. And then to run. So that's a physical aspect of it, but spiritually it's similar. And often when we think we're awake, we are really just sitting on the bed with our eyes open. And we start to see more, but we are using our conditioned understanding. Do we need to put the love just to the side? Just to the side a little bit. We've still got unconditional love, We need love. And we need fear. Just to the sides here is the polarity, and we have the neutrality of unconditional love in the center. But on a spiritual, the consciousness. So what you're talking about is a merging of the two. Do you see?
Yeah, because it's like when we're lying in bed and we're ready to wake up. First thing that happens is there's some signal in our nervous system that says it's time to open our eyes. That signal in our nervous system, it's a charge. It's a subtle fear.
It's a sensation.
It's a sensation. So it's a subtle fear in the nervous system. And when we choose to accept that, we give it fuel to open our eyes. Because we accept it, we can choose to open our eyes.
That's our fire, to be able to burn.
Love. To accept. Love the fear. The next fear is the fear to sit up. And this goes through our nervous system.
It's like, oh, that might hurt.
Gotta get up. I have to accept that. I send some love. Fuel. I'm up. And I gotta face the day. Oh, the armor comes on. Right? And we have to accept one fear after the other to be conscious as we stand and wake into our day. And it is a cycle because in the evening we go back to sleep. And it's the way the body processes the information of life, this contraction and release. It's happening all the time. This is a bigger cycle. We sleep, we wake, contraction, release. There's a cycle. There's many, many cycles. There's a cycle of contraction and release in just a finger movement.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start to recognize that the fuel is our love of our fear of life, and our fear of life is the sensation of every little thing that we do to move forward. It's what gives us energy is to love that experience from acknowledging it in the nervous system. And that's what allows us to move forward. Otherwise, we become frozen or stuck or conditioned by that fear.
I got something.
Yeah, you got it.
I was like, I was going to butt in, and I thought, no, I'll wait.
That's good.
Oh, has it gone? No. Do you see that fear as being the kindling? No, let's look at it even differently.
Okay.
Yeah, because the wax is the wax. The wax is the fuel. The fuel is just the fuel. So the fuel is fear, yeah. But do you see, and I don't know, it's just, well, I do know, but it's like that setting on fire, or that the ember under the soil, what's that called, where it's burning but you can't see it, you know, like the peat in some countries, probably not America,
the roots they burn sometimes under the ground,
but you can't see it, and it can burn and burn and burn. So there's a kindling from that, and that could feel like a fear of fear, where does that make sense? It's like it's underneath, but it's still burning. But that burning is needed for the process of our life, not just. So I heard a mystic medium talking the other day, and she said, we're not just human. And I was like, excuse me, in my head. Because I used to say the same. There's levels of consciousness, or levels, I say, you know, there's this lower human aspect. Not that it's less than, it's just lower 3 chakras. And then there's the higher. So we, you know,
the different expressions of being human.
As I embodied and continue to really be with this material, this matter, that is the fuel for that great devotion and rising to that light, and being within, like I was saying the other day in Grace, sitting in Grace, that we're all the little sparkles of light, like the stars in the sky behind me, but we're also the sky. We're also the night sky. We're all the night sky, yet we're a sparkle of light within the night sky. Or we're all the ocean, and we're all a drop of. So that's how you can start to get your head around, if you haven't had a direct experience of being in that ocean of love and mercy, right? That the ocean, that's why I have our wall, you know, because this is what we live. But going back to, she said, we're more than human. No, we're not. Because the human as a species, think of this. Oh, I'm excited. I'm going to just lay it out here. The human as a species, right? I've studied the human for over 30 years professionally as an anthropologist, as a social scientist and whatnot. But I'm also a mystic, so I've had the pleasure and the honor to experience behind the veils and all this other you know, I was not a human when I did that. I am not a human when I speak with spirit. I am not a human. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when she said that, and I didn't even know fully that I felt that way until I heard someone say that, and I was like, hang on, we are magnificent creatures.
Yeah.
We are beings. Our species
Well,
is phenomenal.
the
Sorry, I'm
word
getting
hu-
passionate.
The word
but like,
like human.
human, God man.
Which means God man.
Huge. Yeah.
Which, you know, the idea of in his image.
Are you feeling it? Just gotta say,
Yeah,
are you feeling
in the
how
image,
magnificent you are as a human,
yeah,
as a species?
Because in the image of, it's not in the image of necessarily being human, it's being unconditional love as a human. That's the reflection. It's the reflection of unconditional love in all of us.
If we were to say this candle is the human, it's the matter, physical, the material that is utilized by spirit, the beloved, to create. We are part of that system. And as we burn at these levels to reach the highest through the steam or through this, you know, you can feel it up here. You can feel the flame up here, but you can't see it. This is still human. It's part of our energetic physiology, right?
Yeah.
So,
and this is you know, accepting more of who we are as human, and that's so as we accept more of our like experience of fear, which is mostly like all of our survival fears and those kind of things, shelter, food, all these things, basic things we need to survive. And accepting those, we start to understand unconditional love in this reality. That when we start to accept fear in this reality, we start to understand unconditional love and what it's like to be unconditional love in this reality. So the more
and that's when that
so the more fear
light
we accept,
is coming back into matter.
Yeah.
So it's the merging of heaven and earth, and the human is that bridge.
The bridge, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like.
Yeah, but it is when we accept that fear, we make that bridge because we are showing the reflection of unconditional love, in the reflection of, in the image of unconditional love. Each of us are in that, and all your you know, religions and ways of knowing and systems are all trying to understand this reality of unconditional love. And it is something that is like, you know, even in science, we're trying to get down to what is the particle that makes up reality? Well, you know, if we're looking for a particle to make up reality, that can get close. It's still conditional because that particle is still in something else. What is it in? It's in something that's not a particle. This universe is in something, but it's not conditional. It's something unconditional that includes all of it. And when we accept fear in this reality, we become as close as we can to this reflection of who we are as unconditional love. Accepting both love and fear in that moment is realizing that existence of unconditional love in this reality. In this reality of earth, which becomes heaven on earth.
So accepting the wax and the wick, as well as the flame and the, you know, the all aspects of light.
Yeah.
The density changes, which, you know, sort of relates to those states of awareness and states, some people may say states of consciousness.
Yeah. And as a species, we are expanding our nervous system. There's a part of us that is unconsciously trying to help us accept more and more and more of who we are. More and more of who we are. The thing about that, when we do it unconsciously, it just comes out as the reality we see in our world today. When we're resisting the fear and we're creating more of it in the world, it just comes out as the war and all this stuff that's really, really hard to accept as a part of reality. Because that is forcing us to accept more of who we are as unconditional love. And when we do accept that part of ourselves, we can soften the projection of that and start to see unconditional love in a different way. Because it will come out more as an appreciation for differences rather than the exclusion of one or another, right? We're talking about actually accepting all of humanity, which in itself, when you look at some of the things that humans do, it can be very difficult. But this is us projecting unconscious fear into the world, expanding everyone's nervous system unconsciously, and it is coming out the best way that we can handle it. We're looking at all this stuff happening in the world, and it's sometimes hard to understand and how to move forward.
And well, moving forward, that was perfect. Moving forward, we can choose how we want to move forward. However, we can only choose when we have some level of consciousness, meaning, you're standing, you're at least standing up and walking. You may not be running yet, right? Or flying, but you're moving towards that. You're aware that there's this potential to be able to choose consciously, but you're not fully conscious of it yet. So that's the practice.
That's called a belief, right? Because you accept that it's there, and so to before you're there, you have to believe that unconditional love is there, and that's to experience something, we have to choose to want to experience it. There are things that come in our life that we may not necessarily want, but if we want to consciously expand our nervous system, make a choice at doing something that does that, that's consciously making the decision to either learn how to process information more, so that our nervous system comes from, then the expansion of our nervous system comes from learning how to love our fear, rather than resisting the fear and trying to expand our nervous system through the resistance. It's expanding it through the love.
And most people that talk about love are talking about it just as love. Just love. Just the balloon, the heart.
It's a conditional love.
The conditioned love, right? So going back to something that you said around accepting our fears in the world or something like that. I'm trying to catch it because it comes in so quick and leaves. No, it's gone. I might need to just cut you off when it comes in. I don't know. But yeah, love and fear.
If we're only accepting love, we're projecting fear.
Oh, this is what it was. It was around. You said something around accepting love or whatever, and I'm saying, or accepting each other, something like that. You said being able to accept each other, accept more of the differences. That's what it was.
Yeah, appreciate the differences. Right?
Appreciate the differences. I don't have I usually jot down what you say so I can recall it, because we don't practice this. It's just whatever comes up. Many of us, more than 50% of the population, aren't accepting vast parts of themselves. And this is why I have clients, because I'm doing the trauma work with them, the attachment work, and the adaptive strategies and whatnot, right? And so think about that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well,
if you're not accepting, for one, on the consciousness level, that you are greater than your physical. Greater than your physical is still part of being in the human experience, right? Until you're no longer in the human experience, but the human experience
that's
embodies.
Where you experience everything.
Embodies
nervous system.
The love into the fear. And the lower triangle of our codes, our core, our existence here is fear, is earth, is the drop. So
Matter.
it's matter. It's the foundation. And if we're only going to love the top triangle, which is the spiritual, there is absolutely no way that you can experience that peace and tranquility that many of you crave for. It's a delusion, I'm sorry, but it is. Because you're saying, I only want to love the right side of me. Cut yourself down the middle. I'm going to hop around on one leg and one arm. Oh, No, seriously.
I know.
Seriously.
It is.
Right? What's wrong with the left side of you? Or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Or the top. I only want to be the top part of me. I only want to be the head of the human. And the rest of the body, no, a lot of us walk around as a head.
Because we don't accept fear. Yeah. The sensation is just
we numb the body.
Yeah.
We numb out.
Stay
we
up
freeze. That's part of the nervous system and the vagal nerve, right? And the dorsal vagal nerve, and how we go into freeze so we don't feel. And to some degree, some people will freeze and they can't even move their fingers in that freeze response. And the only way they can get out of it, because I take many people through that process, is being safe, feeling safe. How do they get to a place where they can be in that space that's activating the trigger or burning that fuel, right? So to speak, and still be able to move.
You have to love that fear to be able to move. Otherwise, you're frozen by it. You have to first even acknowledge that it's there.
That's the first.
That's
yeah,
the first.
It's like just going, okay, this is what I'm feeling, because it's a feeling. What's the sensation? And this is what I'm feeling. And as the charge builds, as the fire fuels and starts to burn the matter, which is your trigger, which is the experience of birthing and dying in every moment.
Yeah.
Your in-breath, your out-breath, right? There's so much going on. We are magnificent creatures. When we accept that, we don't even have to fully have a love affair with it yet. Just accepting, okay, there's parts of me that I'm not accepting.
Yeah.
And if we can accept that we're not accepting a part of ourselves,
the fear part,
we can start to just go, okay, well, what is that about? Just ask the question. Even asking the question can make a slight shift.
Yeah, it's becoming conscious of that fear. Just a little bit of awareness of something, of a fear, is becoming conscious that it's there. And then as we accept it, we become, there becomes clarity on that fear, which is a greater level of consciousness. So we accept the fear is there as one level of consciousness, and as we move through that fear, we move through levels of consciousness around that fear. This can go with any single fear activity or anything like that, or in our particular relationship with unconditional love itself. A direct relationship with unconditional love itself, which is everything around us.
So think about this fire, because the fire is, it's perfect really. And we didn't plan it. It's just coming in, this fire. And, fire saves lives. Our ancient ancestors, once they were able to carry fire, and there's many ways. So my background's anthropology, right? So studying different cultures and the ancient ways of knowing and carrying fire or the coal from camp to camp. But before that, they had to either stay put and keep that fire going. Like without fire, think about it.
It wouldn't evolve.
I mean, that could be argued, but, and so my point there was fire, coming from Australia, there's a great reverence to fire because it wipes out land, nearly every year.
Just like we saw over the summer in LA.
Yeah. So that's something that we, from very, very young, we know about fire, about the land, about how to burn off safely, how to use fire at certain times for certain things, how to, not be afraid, all the different ways. When a fire is, when we have an understanding of fire,
We accept our fear of fire.
yeah, we'll look at fire as the fear. When we, it's contained in, it's actually in the green sand, but it's going into the sand now, right? The candle's gone. It's going into the sand. The wick is going into the sand now. So it's good. It's safe. I could light another candle off that, right? Or if that was on the ground outside, we could have a bushfire. We could wipe out this whole, with the winds and whatnot. So my point is, there's something in relation to recognized fears, acknowledging them and saying, oh, there it is, and there it is, like the balloon, right? I've just plopped this balloon just down here for now. It's just there. I see it. I'm aware of it. It's in my peripheral, right? But when it's just floating around willy-nilly, that's like a fear of fear. It's like unruly, dangerous, can kill you,
Can condition
can
us.
kill others.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a condition that can be anything. It can be a condition that makes us behave in all kinds of ways, and we see that.
So while we continue to say we're not scared, nothing here to look at, you've got a bushfire.
Oh yeah.
You've got a bushfire and you can't even see it most of the time. It's burning so fiercely underneath.
We can see, like,
and it's touching and burning.
If we
other
start
people.
looking at stats and we look at just what's happened over the last what's happened over the last 20 years or so, 20, 30 years.
Keep going, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. We can see, what this fire looks like. I remember the first school shooting we had, and it was a big deal because a kid was bringing a gun to school, and it was on the news and everywhere. And over the time, 30 years or so of watching this, we now have like 1.5 school shootings a day. And so you see, it went from the first one that we had, and
in America.
This is America, yeah.
We're not all American.
No, but there's stats like this everywhere, right? This is just one stat that we can see as evidence that the global consciousness of fear is growing.
Mm.
The more war,
and what's
the
acceptable
more
and what's not
human
acceptable.
trafficking, the more it becomes acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Is killing kids in school acceptable? Well, if we're up to 1.5 a day, we must accept it, or just not conscious accepting it.
Exactly.
Enough
because
to
if
change.
we fully accepted it, if we fully accepted the fear of that,
Yes,
there wouldn't be school shootings.
that's right. But because there's the fear
or put that to anything.
Yeah, even the child has a fear of taking a gun to school, that has to accept that to do it, right? That the fear of that is like conditioning behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The more that we put that out there, the more it becomes a
Let me
conditioning
say it this way, because I'm just wondering. So let us know. We don't usually do that, but I can see the comments. Let us know if this is making sense. If you got something from what we've said so far. I just want to say it this way. When you fear, you have a fear of love or a fear of fear. So that might be you fear that you might do something. So you might be the kid and you've got stuff going on and you're scared and it's not talked about, it's not accepted, then it will play out. But if it was talked about and accepted that I feel like I'm going to hurt somebody, there's a fear, there's massive fears there. But because, no blame on anything, we're just trying to make some points to look at all different aspects to understand what we're talking about. This is about the fear of fear and the fear of love. It's not about the actual events, but we're showing how those events happen because we're not acknowledging, right, those.
The fear building up in all of us. There's
so
fear
if I have a fear, of you leaving me, or you not loving me, or what, I don't know, not helping or whatever, that's going to play out and become, he's not going to help, he's not going to love me, and he probably will leave. Because I'm setting it up in the field and my fear is building, burning, charging, fueling it for it to become the reality. Does that make sense? I think that's so important.
Yeah. Whatever fear is in our nervous system, that's the one the soul's going to want to try and accept, and that's the one that's manifested.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not about
conscious or unconscious, whatever's in our nervous system, the soul is trying to accept it. Whether we resist that or not is how fast it moves through our system.
Yeah.
Whatever it is will manifest. That's what.
So a fear of love, for instance, law of attraction.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. So a fear of love. So looking at the spiritual, mystical experiences. By the way, they heal. They are healing within themselves. We'll maybe talk about that another time. Well, actually, if there's something going on for you, right? If you're sick or injured or, are challenged, I'm going to say it this way. There will be a fear, part of me, of not having it. Somewhere in you, for the majority of people, there will be a fear of being fully well. Because if it was the other way, then you would just be. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like when we see chronic health or a lot of trauma and whatnot, it's like, how is it serving? And it does serve. So you to consciously choose the other path that may be a little, even sometimes more difficult to get to the other side, or to really the other side is really merging it all together.
Yeah, and a lot of times it may be just shifting your awareness of things, right? Like this shift between starting a relationship with fear in a healthy way, and like that decision would start to shift everything in your life, because you'd see it differently. You'd see the love and fear as you move through your day, rather than just being unconsciously, pushed around by here and there. It'd be more of a dance with the love and fear that we have and experience in our everyday life, moment to moment. It's a dance. It's a beautiful experience. It's unconditional love is one of the most profound experiences I've ever experienced. Look at what it's created. This whole reality is of unconditional love, and that system, that love, fear, unconditional love, like way of existence, is seen in everything. And as we start to do that, we do move our consciousness to a consciousness of unconditional love, to the unconditional ego, from the embracing the survival ego, the fear of fear, embracing the spiritual ego, the fear of love, our greatness. When we accept those, we integrate those, we come from a place of unconditional love. The unconditional ego sees both the love and fear as part of human. And when we feel the fear, it's not a bad thing. It's information. We acknowledge it as information for us to embrace. And when we get that information, then we can choose how to respond. Even the you got something.
I think we're about to say the same thing. about reading, which is what we just did, reading information in somebody's field. So psychic abilities, mediumship, intuitive aspects, and literally that being in the field. Is that what you were going to say? Something like that? No?
Something like that. But then also, like there's the aspect of like, so if we're in a situation we can't accept the fear of it, we're either gonna go around it or try and get away from it. That's all responses. That's the fear of fear. When we actually accept the fears there and are willing to face it,
yeah,
that's going to be
something else.
That's going to be the just the decision to face it is going to be like the conscious fuel, the conscious flame, right? You become lighting you're lighting the fear consciously.
You're aware of every aspect of the flame, all the colors of the flame. You're aware of all of it, of who you are, plus the wick and the fuel that you're burning, right? Which is, more the physical aspects. Maybe that wasn't where you were going, but I wanted to bring in, so it was around the information in the field, is that you hold your experiences in mind, and the mind is not in the head. The mind is all around you, right? So that is what, and a lot of people, and you may disagree with me, but I love a debate, so come on down, that when we're doing mediumship and talking to spirit, passed over spirit, or some aspect of guide, passed over master, whatever we want to say, they're different aspects, different consciousnesses. Majority of the time when I watch people work, they're reading the information in the field, which is psychic, but they will say it's medium. And I guess we don't have the time to go into that fully, but there are different consciousness, levels of consciousness that the human antenna is to get that information, but majority of people are reading the field. And if you watch some of those shows or even online and whatnot, you'll see, that person will say, I was just speaking about that. Yeah, it's in your field. I just read it. They're not talking to spirit. Yet we are the sky.
You're the spirit too.
We are, right? So it doesn't really matter to me. But when I teach, I like the students to have an understanding of where they're getting information from, at what level, right?
All the ways
so that's
we explain
accepting
something is how we accept it.
That's accepting the fears.
Yeah.
Because it's all of you. It's all of us.
Yeah. How we explain fears.
You're not special in that way, is what I'm getting at. We're not special.
Whether we explain death as, becoming an angel, the next life, or, being reborn, or however we want to explain death is what makes it acceptable to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's we have explanations for everything to make it acceptable. And so we have to look at whether it's a story to avoid the fear or a story to accept it. Yeah. Because if we accept it and love the fear as a part of life, then we can explain it in a way that actually includes it as a part of life. Otherwise, we try to get rid of it,
It's sort of in some ways boggles your mind, right? It explodes your head because every word that we say is to make this experience acceptable, sustainable, right? Mm-hmm. This is why the awareness.
It's called love, right? Loving the fear.
The awareness, like us too. We're not sitting here all high and mighty. We're just sharing our
process too.
Yeah, right. It's the ebb and flow of I'm present. So as I'm speaking, if I'm in alignment, meaning, you've you know yourself fairly well, right? You're in practice of really intimately getting to know yourself on all those levels.
You accept enough of your own fears that you can see more of who you are.
Yeah, yep. So we may never know the full extent of that, and that's okay. It's the process of fully living as a human being, right? Celebrating the species that we are and acknowledging that we're all of that as well. Not going, oh, I don't want the body, the physical, which I did. I know this stuff. Like I'm talking about, I'm a mystic. I teach from direct experience. I have been that person. I know I would get, where spirit would scare me and all the rest of it, right? There's a fear of my greatness. I'll move away from things. I'm powering along in certain areas, and then it's like, whoa, fear. That's the spiritually when you're expanding and you get, it's
to
like
accept something bigger, right?
to accept something bigger and greater, and then you can get scared of that, and it'll bring you, right? It'll bring you out of it. You push away from it. It's like, nah, I don't even want that.
Yeah.
Because you're going where you want to go, but you haven't accepted that you are that great.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
And the thing is that's being human.
That's human.
That's being human. So accepting
nothing wrong with that.
That fear, feeling it in this human body is human.
Mm-hmm.
That's even though
but
it's.
When we accept it, we go, oh, I'm feeling it this morning, or I'm feeling it.
That's where we start to learn how the body, how we can actually love that something physically with the body, right? That process and that practice of loving life. Different ways to do that.
Yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, because we're nearly out of time, it's an ongoing process, and that's why we are showing up. We're here and we show up every Sunday. We do have other things through the week, but Sunday, and send us a message, send us an email, send us how you respond or how you receive this. If there's something that's not clear, and we can bring it in next week or answer you through the week. So this is the unfolding. This is in the everyday, you can't be fully unconditional in the physical body. So it's this expansion while we're in the physical, and it's an amazing, some of you who are watching may have experienced this. I know a couple of you have, that I can explain it to you, we can explain it to you, but when you feel it, when you are in your physical solidly and you have that expansiveness, which I call, communing with the beloved, there is nothing like it. When we are purely going off into the whiteouts, or the, experiences, the blissgasms, all the rest of it, right? Yeah, there's something for that. And that's what I've practiced, for many, many, many years. But when you bring the two together, that
heaven on earth.
That is heaven on earth, bringing heaven to earth. Heaven on earth. We're not going to heaven because it's not your time yet.
It's right here. It's always been here. It's heaven on earth.
Well, the heaven that most people think of, little cherubs sitting on clouds and whatnot. Right? So, okay. On that note,
if you would like to be a part of sharing unconditional love with the world, hit the QR code there and donate to the House of Unconditional Love so we can spread unconditional love throughout the world and make a movement that is unconditional love as a reality in a conditional world, creating heaven on earth.
So we'll just take a breath, and actually as we end with the gong, we're going to sit after the gong.
Mm-hmm. Let's sit for 5 minutes or so.
Okay, we'll sit for a few minutes if you'd like to sit with us. And as you're sitting, just scan the body and just notice the sensations. Notice how you are, how you're aring. Take this moment, just a few more minutes, to be with your love and your fear, which is unconditional love. So taking a breath. Want one? Sitting in grace, sitting in meditation, in stillness. And receive what it is that you're to receive in this moment. Taking a deep breath, sipping on the living waters, receiving, being, honoring, and acknowledging the power of unconditional love. And may it illuminate your path as you move through the day. May the blessings be.